A lot has changed in my agentic coding workflows from last year to today. And I think it's only been like 4 or 5 months since I actually worked on releasing my Agentic Jumpstart course, which taught a bunch about everything I knew. So I just wanted to have a little discussion about what has changed since then and how my workflows have evolved to what they are today. So the main thing I want to talk about is I don't really even use an editor anymore. I don't use VS Code. I don't use tab completion. And that's the first thing I want to kind of highlight on, because before last year, I was using autocomplete and tab complete all the time. I was using the traditional cursor editor, which is basically just VS Code. I spent a lot more time basically knowing where my files were. So like if I wanted to go and modify something with the map manager, I could just go ahead and open that up real quick, and then I could easily navigate to whatever function that I want. But since the end of last year, I have noticed that I don't even use auto completion or tab completion anymore, which is the main reason I used Cursor to begin with. And then I honestly don't even open up like a text editor anymore. I mainly just prompt agents to modify the code for me. Right now, I've been using Cursor 3 for the past like week, and honestly, I have not had the need to switch back to the old approach of using Cursor with the editor. I don't need tab completion anymore when I can just prompt using Composer too fast to have it quickly modify or edit files, or if I need to do a more detailed implementation or plan of something, I can switch it to a higher power model. And I think a lot of people are also starting to see that this is the way that the industry is going. We have Codex, which is another desktop application you can use to basically do the same thing. You can manage multiple projects all from a centralized view, which was kind of problematic with the old Cursor approach and old VS Code, is you had to open up a new Cursor instance every single time you wanted to work on a new project, which at the time was pretty good. But now I think it is more important to know how to context switch, whether that's on different side projects or at work. Sometimes there's a bunch of internal tooling that might be in different repositories. The ability to quickly switch between projects, to kick off an agent, to add in some extension to an API contract, and then go to your other project and add in the implementation to connect to that. These are things that are very important, and be able to context switch faster with AI on your projects is a huge efficiency boost. Now, although I'm not really editing code files by hand or making files, and I'm not really using autocomplete anymore or tab complete, I still think reviewing the code is extremely important. I even had someone on Discord message me saying, hey, I just vibe coded an entire application, but now every time I ask it to add features, it's breaking existing stuff. And he doesn't know how to like add in enough test rails and harnesses so that the agent can continue being productive without it just blowing his code base away. Now, granted, this all really depends on the model that you're using. Some models are not as good as others, but I will say that this happens with all models. Opus 4.7 that just came out, I've been playing around with it, and still I have to switch over to other models to fix very simple bugs sometimes. Like, for example, I had a simple issue with my layout in the video crafter. The shell of the layout, this is supposed to be sticky on the left, but when I was scrolling, the whole thing was scrolling the body. I prompted Opus 4.7 maybe 5 times to try to fix it. It couldn't get it. I switched over to GPT 5.4. It couldn't get it. I switched over to Gemini 3.1 and it figured it out. Okay, so I still think it's important to know when these models were better at certain tasks, because I don't think there's going to be a silver bullet model. So because these models aren't perfect, and honestly, I don't think they're ever going to get there, we still need someone to review the code to make sure nothing is broken. And at the end of the day, if you push a change that breaks production or drops a production table, I'm pretty sure you blaming AI is not going to fly from your boss, right? At the end of the day, you are still responsible for making sure the code that you push to production is of the highest quality. And I think you will still get in trouble if you're not actually reviewing the code. But I will say the way I review code has changed. I typically use a lot more of these AI reviewing coding tools. So CodeRabbit is one. I'm not sponsored by CodeRabbit. I've used Gemini Code Reviewer. I've used BugBot from Cursor. I have also used Claude Code. You can have Claude Code Reviewer code as well. It doesn't really matter. I think as long as you have 1 or 2 of these services running and they're using different models and different prompts to try to find security vulnerabilities, to find code maintainability issues, to find performance issues, just having more AI agents try to understand what you might have done wrong. And by you, I mean like what your agent that you prompted did wrong, is just going to help increase the quality of your code base. In addition to pull requests, something that I have found myself doing a lot more now is I don't even try to fix the failing test manually anymore. I used to have to go into here and see, okay, what's actually failing? Looks like my playwright tests are failing. And then I go in and I have to go and copy all this and try to understand it. At this point, I literally just copy the pull request. I go over here, I paste it in, and I say, fix this. And it's going to go and basically run in a loop to try to pull in all the information about why the pull request failed, what tests were failing, and then it's going to run it locally and try to fix it. But even fixing this locally isn't necessary now. You can have cloud agents now, and you can actually say, Claude, like, fix this failing test, and it'll go and kick off a virtual machine to basically run all your code, try to fix the test, and then it'll eventually commit. So that's another thing that's changed a lot, is like when you realize that you can kind of do an asynchronous background job. It's very important to start leveraging that. Also with merge conflicts, sometimes I'll get a merge conflict on a pull request. I'll just have Copilot fix it because it's such a simple thing to fix, and we have like thousands of tests that even if the conflict resolution didn't go well, there's more than a high chance that the tests are going to kind of catch what just broke. Another thing I'm trying to do on my projects a lot now is to add in more skills. So often what I found is when you're doing agentic coding and you're just prompting along the way, you often have to come back and fix things that it didn't do well. Like it might have forgotten to write a test for your code base. It might have forgotten to add documentation over something. It might have written code that's kind of poorly written. Okay. So using skills is something you can add into your code base to make sure that your code is as highest quality possible before you even have to go and review it. I think the end goal is that from you making the plan and kicking it off to you going and reviewing the pull request, you should have had a bunch of stuff in place to make sure that the code is already as close as possible to how you would have written it, meaning test coverage, good code quality, separation of concerns, all the gang of four patterns that could be applied, no magic numbers, you name it. Basically, you should have a skill that knows how to write proper front-end code, back-end code, React code, how to do security audits, all this stuff so that when you prompt, it automatically kicks those skills into play to review your code and make sure that it's good. On top of that, I typically have some type of skill or a Claude file that actually outlines the phases or steps that everything needs to go through before you should even consider this done. I have found that the models don't always follow it through all the way, so I'm trying to figure out how to actually get it consistent when I make a plan and I kick it off. I often have to come back and iterate on it multiple times because it just forgot like multiple steps in the plan. And so I'll be like, hey, are you sure you covered everything? And then it goes through and it's like, oh no, I actually found like 5 things I didn't do. But overall, I mean, having all those skills in place and having a good workflow that kind of lists out, first you need to plan it out, and then you need to implement it, then you need to write the test, and then you need to do a security audit, then you need to do a performance review. That type of stuff can just help the code be as high as quality. Now, some other things that have been changing a lot is design. So like if you need a landing page, honestly, in this day and age, you can just go and find a reference website that's already deployed out there. You take the link, you paste it into your chat panel and say, hey, I need you to go and download this and analyze all the code and take the styles, make a markdown file that describes the styling, the color theme, the padding, the margin, and then apply that to my entire code base. And if you want a nice looking landing page, that's literally all you have to do. You can sit here and keep trying to prompt with Claude Code if you have a really good understanding of user experience and design, but most developers don't. So I would probably find a good looking page or a good looking template and just ask it to basically pull it into your code base. Or if you just want to start with a nice looking component library, that's also an option too. Some other workflow changes now is I don't really even run terminal commands. I used to, manually do a git add can commit. Now I let AI do all the commits. It's better to have AI have a nice detailed commit message so that later on when it needs to figure out what changed, it can do that. It can do a git log. It can look through all the commit messages and try to pinpoint exactly where something broke and then fix it for you. I have found that just letting the AI do the commit messages is a lot more efficient. Also, terminal commands. As of right now, I'm still running some commands manually just because of habit, like running my dev server or my Stripe listen command. But honestly, these are things you could kick off directly in your harnesses, like Cursor 3. You could have just said, hey, run my dev server. And then that's going to kick off a background terminal process that you don't even have to remember to run. I found this really beneficial, especially when you're context switching, where at work we have different projects that are written in different code bases. We have different, one might be in Django and Python, the other one might be in Node or Hono. And often when you try to come back and contribute to the project, they have a different testing suite, they have a different approach. And just leveraging these tools to help you move faster is something that has changed a lot in my workflow. Like I never try to commit all this stuff to memory anymore. Like for example, if I need to reset my database for this project, I typically have to go and look at my package JSON and then find like a DB reset command. And hopefully I can know how to run it. Like I remember how to run it, or I have that documented properly of how to run it. But I found in this day and age, like you literally just say, hey, like reset my DB. And then the agent is smart enough to go and look at the script and try to figure out the arguments that are required to run it, what other edge cases might happen if you try to reset it and it fails. Sometimes I'm trying to reset my database and I realize that my Docker instance isn't even running, and I just waste 5 minutes trying to rerun this script, debugging it. And the agent tells me in 2 seconds, hey, your Docker daemon is not running or something. Now, a lot of this is more possible now because Composer 2 and other models are a lot faster and they're a lot cheaper. Trying to do this before on like Opus would be super slow. Like it would take a very long time for it to figure out what command to run. And it's a lot more efficient to just kick off the terminal command yourself. But now I'm finding that with Composer 2 and these other fast models, a lot of the stuff I used to commit to memory, I just offload it to AI because it can probably do it faster. It's going to do it more accurate the first attempt. and I don't have to sit here debugging things that it messed up on. Okay, some other things, I let AI basically, fix merge conflicts for me. I let AI update packages for me because I can just say, hey, update all my packages and then run my test to make sure nothing failed. And then also run and check a security audit to see if there's anything that might be insecure that I should probably roll back. So those are the main things that have changed my workflow. Overall, I mean, a lot of people are probably doing exactly what I mentioned, but I think the main thing that you need to focus on in this day and age, if you want to be good at agentic coding and getting good at shipping software fast, is trying to identify areas where doing the thing manually probably takes more time than if you just let the agent do it. And then also starting to convince yourself that these agents are getting more powerful and more competent. And when you give it a task and you see it do it correctly 9 times out of 10, you can start leveraging these tools to do a lot of your tedious dev work. All right, so if you guys enjoyed this video, leave a comment below and let me know, how has agentic coding elevated your software engineering game? Other than that, have a good day and happy prompting.